Okay, hello everybody, this is Chioski with another TvT here on Eastwatch. So I had a pretty fun game that I thought would share with you guys, and again it's going to be a TvT, this time versus a red random barcode player. I've been playing a lot on the Korean server again recently, and let's just get the beginning of this game started up. Ever since I started playing again, there have been a few changes that I've noticed or that I've read in patch notes and whatnot, and or seen in just some games online. I've been watching a lot of the pro players playing again, and some of those games are just really crazy. Just recently watched some Beyond games as well. That series was very awesome. All of the Beyond games were just amazing. Um, but one of the changes that I did see was the changes to the Raven spells. Before it used to have the point defense shown to block projectile attacks. It had the turret, which it still does, but before it was just a very, very long lasting turret. And the third ability was the Hunter Seeker Missile, which was just turned into Seeker Missile, which is now anti-armor missile. But anyway, as this game is going on, in terms of units lost, we both had a little scuffle. He came into my base, killed a few of my workers with his scouting reaper, and then I went back into his with my own and got a few kills. I believe I got some good scouting information off. If I can stop that. So I actually didn't get too much information, didn't see the starport, and I only saw a factory and a barracks, so I really don't know what he's doing. But for the meantime, my opponent is going for a couple of Marines and Hellions in the bushes, so in case I decide to move out and do a little cheeky push, he is prepared for it, or he'll know that it's going to be coming. I've also been favoring Cyclones a lot recently just because of how much damage they do and how great they are for early game defense as well. It sinks a lot of gas, so you might be a little bit behind in tech, but they are so good. So here I come in with my Banshee that is doing absolutely nothing for a couple of seconds, then going to be picking up a couple of SCVs. My cloak research does finish, so I'm just going to be picking up whatever I can. He scans my Banshee and gets it pretty much with no problems at all. He does have a single Hellion that was from that initial push. I believe the reason why I was having such a hard time with this Banshee was because there was a dropship that was in my main base, so we again had another small little engagement for the two of us at the same time. So he's going to be killing off this rock tower, just going to be slowing down any pushes that come from this area. But in the meantime, since I did go for that Banshee, I decided to get a Raven early game in order to do a cute little attack. So I scan his front base. I see that he only has 2 tanks up here. And because of the new interference matrix that the Raven has, I'm able to do a lot with just those two spellcasts. He has a tank on the high ground, and I positioned my tank way too far up, and because of it, I'm going to be losing this. This was a pretty critical mistake on my part, because if I just stayed on the low ground down here, then I could have kept him up in his main base, prevented mining from his natural. I didn't actually scout out the third base until much after I left, and so I just see this now, realize, oh hey look, there's a third base up, and I do have my own third base up, so it's not the end of the world, especially since I did prevent all that mining time. And in terms of the units lost, we're looking pretty good. I did grind a bunch of workers in that initial attack, really again just because of how good the Raven was to prevent those tanks from firing at my units. So a medevac full of Marines is going to be coming into my base. And actually, do I have combat shields on the way? My opponent is getting combat shields, but mine hasn't been going on for a while now. He does decide to drop into my third base. I pull all my SCVs, albeit a little bit late. And if he was probably paying attention, he could have realized that this isn't nearly enough. Possibly with SCVs, but that would have been a pretty good trade for him. So, because of he destroyed those rocks earlier, I'm going to have to kill them and then scan to see what he has in his third base, just doing a little bit of stutter step micro, and going to be killing whatever I can. The missile turret is going to be killing off one of my medevacs and doing half of its health on my other one. And there was a missile turret earlier over in his natural expansion that killed the Raven, which was that's bad. It's just bad. I have no excuses. So I deny mining from his third base as well, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. He does constantly poke in with his dropship full of Marines at my third base, and in the meantime he's kind of evening up the amount of workers killed, but the main thing is just that I'm preventing him from mining from his third base. Viking is going to be poking in a little bit and killing off one of my medevacs. This push was, again, super ambitious, and again, I probably should have either just stayed to prevent him from going to his third base, or even just pulling back and being happy with that. I do have my +2/+2 on the way. My opponent, I don't believe actually has that yet. Only has +1 and +0 on his Marines. So I'm doing really well in terms of upgrades compared to my opponent, except for the combat shields, which is one of those critical upgrades. If you don't have it, you just lose a lot of fights. So, um, that's pretty bad. But in the meantime, my opponent looks like he has another set of drop ships going over to the bottom right hand corner of the map, so it probably is going to be hitting my main base, I believe. He now drops the Mule Hammer at his third expansion. Again, just leaving a couple of tanks peppered around to try and defend whatever he can. Going to be making another command center in his main base in order to float it to the gold, but I'm going to be moving out. This attack I'm not too sure about, because I do have a lot of medevacs and marines, but I don't have any tanks to support it. I got another Raven just because of how good they were, but these missile turrets were just a little bit too slow to defend against the drops, and because of it, he is going to be able to get into my main base. Does lose one of his medevacs, and possibly just because he was doing a multi-prong attack. Going to be throwing down the auto turret, and it is going to be getting a couple of kills. And again, he's in my main base doing a lot of damage. I also decided to do a multi-prong attack because he dedicated so many units in order to drop into my main base. He didn't have anything really to defend this third base, so I was able to just completely kill it. The drop in his main base I'm really not paying attention to, or as much as I should, because it could be over here doing some more damage to the worker line, although he did have a couple of tanks. So in the meantime, I was able to kill off his natural expansion as well. He's still doing some damage to my main base, and the medevac in my third base looks like it was finally cleared up, but just rallying to kill off these marines has been a challenge for me. But with the assistance of this auto turret, it just helps so much. And he also moved his tanks when he was in his main base, and just because of that, I was able to pick everything off. Just now starting the +3/+3, but that's all good. I think I stay a little bit longer in the game just to pick some stuff up. And that was it, pretty much. The addition to a couple of Ravens in a TvT, especially when you're trying to focus an attack and you know that they're going to have a couple of siege tanks, is just so much fun. It, like, before I really disliked TvT just because of siege tank lines, but with the addition of the Raven, it is just so much more enjoyable, because now there's that metagame where you have to micro the Raven like carefully against the Marines, but you have to also be very careful to avoid Vikings as well, but you can still deal so much damage just because you can prevent the siege tanks from firing. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time.